Welcome back, friends and relatives and members of my community. So today we are going to be making what's called biochar. And this is a process of pyrolyzing organic material in order to create charcoal instead of ash. And that's done in burning with reduced oxygen. And so we've purchased a kiln that we're going to be putting together and using and sort of seeing how that goes. We part of the reason why this is important is because we know that that our health, our very health of our bodies, depends upon the health in the soil. Modern industrial agriculture doesn't farm in soil. They farm on dirt, which is not living, and they utilize fossil fuels to fertilize it. And it's part of the reason why we've been able to have such industrialized, huge amounts of food produced. But that is very destructive to the soil, and it is very, it's not as healthy as or building your own soil that has a whole web of life within it. And part of that is utilizing biochar. And this is a technology, so to speak, that was discovered by archaeologists in the Amazon basin, where there were very poor soils. A lot of tropical areas usually have very poor soils, by indigenous people that would use this charcoal in the ground to create what's called terra preta. And this biochar in the soil allows for microorganisms to survive and thrive, and can make the soil fertile for 1,000 years. So by doing this, we're just increasing the fertility. So at this property, there was a lot of damage from logging. You'd be hard pressed to find a tree that's 100 years old. There's really no old growth forest here, and we know that trees build soil. So this, and the place also had cattle run upon it, and probably hasn't had cattle here for at least 60 years, if not longer. And the soil is still like demolished. We have erosion problems, we have fertility problems, it's heavy clay. We have water problems of too much water, too much standing water in certain areas. So we're working to mitigate that. So we're going to be building this biochar to use fertility in our gardens, and then eventually, when we really get rocking and going, we'll be using it in other places too, just to build forest fertility and just to boost this land, because there's a whole system of like I said, microorganisms, bugs, creatures, mycorrhizal layer. There's so much going on, and we want to help that because we're stewards of the land, and we also want to feed our families the best food that we possibly can. And the reasons for that are that we've already seen supply chain problems, and that isn't going away anytime soon, especially as various ecosystems collapse, and we're seeing like droughts and floods and extreme weather events destroy our large industrial monocrop farming. So that further reduces our food supply, and a lot of that food relies upon oil, and we have to think about peak oil and whatever that looks like, and not being able to access that food. And also I'm sure you've noticed, as our family has, food is really expensive, and part of that is because of crop yields going down for lots of reasons, but it's also due to the greed that a corporation can charge you. You need to eat, you need to get food. I got some organic apples for my son this past week. I got 5 apples. It was like almost $9. That's just crazy. And we grow apples here. Obviously it's out of season, but the more food that you can grow for yourself, your family, and your community, that's just money in your pocket. So that's how I think about it. So come on, let's go check some stuff out. So when we think about utilizing things that we have, one of the principles of permaculture is produce no waste. And we live in a society that produces so much waste all the time. So we want to think about things that we can reuse or get a second life out of, or that doesn't produce waste at all. So Ed made a really delicious chili, and we are going to wash these cans up, and we're going to use these for part of our biochar work in our biochar kiln that we're working on. So I'll be showing you what we can do with that and how important it is. So if you plan on using biochar, you will want to save cans if you're going to do this method. So we can get a second life and get more use out of what would be going in a trash or even being recycled. So many projects, so little time. Today I am prepping our biochar kiln, and I'm going to be painting the metal to protect it with heat resistant paint. So we ordered this kiln. It doesn't look like it now, but these shapes will be shaped into a cone. And so I'm just in the process of painting it and getting it prepared for us to work with and create biochar. And I'll go into what biochar is and why it's important for the garden in a bit. Okay, here's the finished kiln, and we're not going to fire it up just yet. We're having a bit of a windstorm, but we will show you shortly. So in the bottom, we will burn wood, and then later, once we get the fire going, we will start burning things we want to convert into biochar inside aluminum tin cans that I showed you before why we're saving those. So we're going to share the process and start creating biochar for our gardens to enrich our soil. Hey Ed, what are you working on?
Oh, hey Maya. I am going and I'm creating these cans here. I mean, I didn't make the cans.
Reusing the cans.
But I'm reusing them.
Yeah.
I'm going to crimp around them. See, I've got this metal crimper. I've already done this one. What I need to do with this one, though, as well, is I need to put one single hole in it. Now, what am I doing? Well, this device and this larger one, I'm going to put whatever we want to turn into charcoal or biochar. In this case, we've got some leftover bones from our dog. I'm going to just stick that in there. So, put that solid. Now if you look, there's no holes except for this one little hole. What's going to happen is we're going to drop this on a really hot fire, and this is going to have a bunch of the fumes and vapors come out this end, out of this hole, and it's going to pyrolyze inside, and it's going to turn this bone into charcoal that we'll be using in the garden. One of the cool things is this neat device. This is a crimper for doing like corrugated pipes. You can crimp them to fit them together. But we're using it here to go and crimp all along the side of this can. And once we're done with this, we'll be able to fit it together the same as we did this can and this can, and we're going to fill this with the rest of these bones that are in here, and we're going to turn them all into charcoal for the garden. That charcoal is going to make the plants really grow, and it's like terra preta down in South America. They found in the indigenous garden areas and deposits where they've been doing it for hundreds of years, and it will stay in the soil as a carbon capture and a great nutrient for thousands of years.
So what you're basically saying is that by utilizing this, we could say like old technology we are going to create fertility in our soil for thousands of years.
Exactly, and also store away carbon.
Right, which is a huge deal now since we have over carbonized everything. We have too much carbon.
Exactly.
Okay.
Bing. It fits.
It does. Okay.
All right. Next, we're going to go light up the biochar kiln.
Okay.
Come with us.
So before we go and light our kiln, I just want to say that this is a really great way to get rid of dog bones because, you know, if you put a dog bone in your compost, it's gonna be there. It's gonna take a really long time to compost down. So if you have bones, then a way to get rid of them and use them in a beneficial way is to turn them into biochar.
Okay.
So what's happening here?
So we're using a Fresnel lens here to start up this grapevine here in our biochar kiln.
So you're just using the power of the sun to start the fire.
Yep, and I'm putting a little bit of pitch from the spruce tree, give a little extra oomph to get started.
I can see it smoking.
Yeah.
So how long do you reckon that would takes you to do it?
Depends on how well it gets focused.
I see.
And
So,
you gotta hold it in one spot.
to get that heat and that light focused. Okay.
And this is our biochar kiln. We're gonna take this whole stack of wood here, the little sticks and things, gonna burn it up. What's gonna happen is, as the fire builds up to the top here, the things underneath are gonna turn to charcoal. And up here, it'll just be the fire burning. It's gonna suck it because of the cone shape. I
Right.
would bury one of these or build this just in the yard, but unfortunately this time of year, every time you dig a hole, it fills up with water. So anyways, we'll use this kiln. This will work good. Feel free, Lucius, you can just start putting it on like I'm doing. Grab little ones though.
And we have, for safety purposes, some water just in case.
When we have to quench it at
And
the end.
yeah, and we have our bones in our jars ready to go. So this makes me want to roast some marshmallows. So here's our stock of biochar. You can see how it just crumbles, like it just can turn to dust. So we'll be grinding this up and mixing it into our garden. Yep. Pure carbon. It's pretty amazing.
There we go. That's some charcoal.